Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. You?
I'm having a great time.
Okay, so we're gonna stick to these topics and try not to veer off of them.
Which topics?
So socialism, Trump, Biden,
hmm
trans rights, Republican Party, and BLM.
That's a lot of topics. Can we narrow that down to three?
We could do socialism,
Okay.
trans rights, and BLM.
Okay. Cool.
Would you like to start off, or do you want me to start off?
Oh, you can start off. What is your position and what are your contentions?
Okay, so I'm just here because uh I just like to express my what's it called? Policies. Well,
hmm
not really policies, but ideologies.
Cool. That's why I'm here too.
So for the first question for socialism, so if I sound like raggedy, it's because I have like bad social anxiety. So
Oh, it's totally fine. I get it.
yeah, so number one is socialism and communism have similar to the same ideology.
Okay.
Would you like to rebuttal that?
They are very similar. Do you know what constitutes like a socialist state versus like a communist state?
Socialist. No, I know about communism more than socialism, but a
Okay.
communism. I'm not gonna say 100% sure,
Okay.
but most likely has a dictatorship and where the government has full power over its people. Like Cuba, for example, has full power over its people, and they can dictate whether what goes on.
Okay. So here I will draw your distinctions for you here. So socialism has two components. Number
Mm-hmm.
one, worker control over the means of production,
Mm-hmm.
which lefties are pretty familiar with that one. And then the other is decommodification of parts of an economy, right?
Uh-huh.
That can either be the entire economy or just significant parts of it. It doesn't have to be the entire thing
So
to
like
be socialist.
like anti-capitalist, pretty much.
I mean, socialism is not capitalist, but that also doesn't mean that it doesn't have markets. So it doesn't mean
Mm.
that like people aren't buying and selling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the various ways of implementing socialism have different, more specific names. So, for example, I'm a market socialist. So I believe that there
Okay.
is a role of in for the market in socialism, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that those two things can coexist quite nicely. Now,
Yeah.
in order to be communist, I do have to take a little bit of issue with your definition of communism. Because communism has a third component, and it has the first two components of socialism, but
Mm-hmm.
to my understanding, it has a third component, and that is the dissolution of the state. So, in order
Mm-hmm.
to be communist, you would literally be living in a stateless society, which is a bit
Yeah.
complicated because it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no government,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have a state.
Yeah.
So, to that end, like when we point at, for example, like the USSR or China
Mhm.
as like
Yeah.
examples of communism, which a lot of people on the
Yeah.
right do.
Yeah, because China is more of a capitalist like
Right.
economy, but it has like a more communist like government
Well,
in
so
a
the
sense.
part of the issue here is that communism is not synonymous with authoritarianism. In
Mhm.
fact, communism in it again, like I said before, entitles the dissolution of the state.
Yeah.
So authoritarianism, in that sense, runs very counter to what communism actually is.
Yeah.
Um, and part of this, but the confusion, by the way, stems from Stalin, actually. So Stalinist Russia basically had a problem, and that
Yeah.
problem was that they had gone through World War One, they had a revolution, then they had to go through World War Two, and then
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know this, for example, but after World War One, a coalition of European countries, including the United States, invaded Russia to try and
Yep.
overthrow their fledgling socialist government.
Pretty sure it's the Cold War, right?
No, that happened after
After World War II.
after World War II, and
Yeah.
U.S. troops never invaded Russia during the Cold War. So
Oh, that was Germany when they tried taking full power, right?
Yeah, I mean,
We'll try to gain more power.
we can go into more detail about this, but the basic series of events was World War One, the attempted invasion of Russia by the Allied powers, pre like post World War One, but pre World War Two. That ended in a disaster for the invaders, and
Mm-hmm.
then World War Two happened.
Yep.
Also, in all of that, there was a civil war in Russia. So
I've never known that.
yeah, you had the war between the blacks and the whites,
Oh.
not as a racial category, but as political
Mm-hmm.
parties.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this all culminated into basically Stalin coming into power,
Mm-hmm.
and Stalin was in a predicament because basically for the last 15 years, his people had sacrificed enormously in order to, fend off two world wars, a civil
Yeah.
war, and an entire invasion of their country. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are you to do when you are a highly empowered leader of a country and you have managed to do what no other country in the world has been able to do, which is take control over the state when you are, at least in name, a socialist? So
Yeah.
Stalin basically went and said, we have control over the state, this is what socialism means.
Yeah.
And when in fact that's not what socialism means at all.
So he tried to make it his own type of socialism, what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, and that's why if you start getting down into the nitty-gritties of like leftist politics, you find out
Yeah.
that like there are people who call themselves Stalinists, there are people who call themselves Maoists. There are all of these different
Yeah.
factions of understanding. Now, I think, for example, that tankies, the people who really buy into the way that Stalin and Mao went about doing things, are not really leftists. They're more people who are authoritarians who um, use the aesthetic of leftism to justify their authoritarianism. Because Stalin and China have at no point had workers in control over the means of production. They've at no point had a decommodification of their goods, and
Mm-hmm.
neither of them have like had a dissolution of their state. On the contrary, their states are much more powerful than ever before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then the USSR crumbled, so it's not around anymore, and Putin's Russia is definitely not socialist or communist at
Okay.
all.
Mm-hmm. Well, my third and final question about socialism
Hmm.
is, well, it's not really a question, but it's more of like a statement, because in order for socialism to work in like an actual
Hmm.
real way, would have to be everyone would have to think the same and pretty much have the same ideologies, which we know no one's going to ever have in
Hmm.
America. So how would, because I hear a lot of people, a lot of leftists at
Hmm.
my school, and well, I'm 13, I'm in 8th grade.
Okay.
And so a lot of leftists at my school who are semi-educated like
Hmm.
to talk about how socialism could work in the US. And me and my dad had a talk about this. He immigrated from Cuba when
Hmm.
it was on when what's it called happened?
Hmm.
When a lot of people started fleeing from there when he
Yeah.
was a kid.
Hmm.
So he doesn't really like
Yeah.
communism and stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
he would tell me like, don't ever get yourself associated with like communism, because like I'd pretty much disown you.
Hmm.
And so we were just having this talk one day about communism, and he told me that pretty much how communism would ever work would be that everyone would have to think the same
Hmm.
and do the same thing, because other than that, no one, like, communism or like socialism wouldn't work like
Okay.
at all.
So, one of the things is that there are two main camps of socialist thought, and so
Hmm.
one of the camps is called like they're revolutionaries, right?
Yeah.
So that camp is basically, so I need to back up a half step real quick. So the goal of most socialists is to gain control over the state so that you can implement socialist policies in some way,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
revolutionaries their stance is that they are willing to use violence to capture the state, occupy the White House, and then like with you're there's like a military like revolution or whatever, and like the half the army like sides with the socialists, and then you control the country and can have you can enforce your socialist policies. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what, to a large extent, like for example Russia did and Mao did in
Mm-hmm.
China. And I'm personally not in favor of that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
we can achieve a lot of these socialist goals by participating in democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And that camp, they're called evolutionists.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, and basically the consensus in the United States, for example, among socialists, is that violent revolution against the United States military is fucking suicide, and no one would like it. It just wouldn't ever work, ever
What'd you
work.
say? I got off task. I
Um,
was
oh, that's
my
okay.
bad. My bad.
But the consensus among socialists in the United States is that violent revolution against the state would never work because we have the world's largest military by
Yeah.
like 100,000 times, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, my policy is, or my position is that we advocate for policies that are sensical and move us towards a more socialist state.
Mm-hmm.
Because fundamentally, socialism isn't about like all of us thinking the same or all of us being the same or all of us having to wear like gray clothes and go to a crummy job that we all
Yeah.
hate or anything like
Yeah.
that. What the actual conception of socialism is having more freedom than we have under capitalism. Because under capitalism, for example, if you aren't able to work, and a lot of people are in this situation right now,
Yeah.
if you aren't able to work, uh, you know, you're in danger of becoming homeless. You're in danger
Yeah.
of starving to death. You can't afford health care. And like all of these really scary things start to happen.
Yeah, but at the same time,
Hmm.
in capitalism, it gives people more opportunities to become richer or wealthier, as well as because you can invest in stocks and
Hmm.
well in the stock market, and if the economy booms, then you get more growth and you can get paid more by just your stocks,
Hmm.
and as well as you can well most jobs like I hear a lot of liberals saying we need like $15 as like a minimum wage like uh
Hmm.
set. But, most jobs like Amazon, they give you, like, $15 and something cents
Hmm.
for, like, just your starting, like, job.
Hmm.
But my problem with socialism is that, like, if you give people more freedom, they'll start to get easy with it. Because like, let's say it like this. I live in a duplex.
Hmm.
I have my friend pay $500, but in his past, hotel that he was staying at well, not hotel, but his past condo that I was staying at was $1,000 a month.
Hmm.
So if I tell him that he's paying $500 a month and pretty much paying for my rent because it costs $500 for the whole duplex to be paid for that month, so
Hmm.
then he will start to be like, "Whoa, hold up! I'm pretty much paying for the whole entire house expense.
Hmm.
Why should I be paying this? Why aren't you paying it?" The reality is that you're saving more money by pretty much paying for me and you. But like, I kind of just got off task there. If you like, kind of didn't get what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I
So,
well,
like,
so so
if you give people more freedom, they'll start to take more from you. If
well,
that's pretty
so
much what I'm trying to get at.
so here's part of where decommodification comes in.
Mhm.
Um, so can I just spend a little bit of time like telling you how I would change our country?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So under a market socialist society, which is what I advocate for,
Yeah.
um, essentially all private businesses would over a long period of time slowly transition over into becoming worker co-ops. Now, do you
But
know
can
what
you
a
abbreviate what a worker co-op is?
yeah. So basically, a worker co-op is a place where everyone who works at that company and does work collectively owns the company and collectively has a say in how the company is run. And one
Mhm.
of the great things is we actually have worker co-ops today, like in the United States. There are worker co-ops. Um, One of them is Ocean Spray, like the cranberry juice company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're a $2 billion a year company. And
Mm-hmm.
also, they invented juice boxes as like a fun fact for you. So if you've
Yeah.
ever had a juice box, you can thank a worker co-op. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the idea would be to transfer our private businesses over into worker co-ops.
Yeah,
And
because I can understand that. Because if you just fully like switch like that, then the economy will fold over itself, and then like you like that's bad.
yeah, I'm not talking like a Thanos snap and like
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
you have to be. Bernie Sanders actually had a really good policy for this, which was anytime a private company would want to sell to like another company, they would first
Mm-hmm.
have to offer the company to their workers collectively to buy. So the workers would have the opportunity to buy the company collectively.
Mm-hmm.
And that would change it over to a worker co-op. Um, and there are a lot of reasons why worker co-ops are better than traditional companies. For example,
Mm-hmm.
they're more efficient.
Yeah.
Um, People who work at them are happier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for example, in modern companies, like if you ever take like a managerial course or something, um, you'll learn that workers who are happy, who have their basic needs met, tend to be much more productive and efficient than workers who don't. So, if you have a worker who's not eating right, or a worker who's not like absolutely hates their job, or whatever, they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
less productive.
Yeah.
And people in worker co-ops tend to be happier and more productive because they have some control over what's going on. Like in the current, like if you go and work at McDonald's, for example, and your manager
Yeah.
tells you to lick a doorknob and you say no, you can get fired, right? Like
Yeah.
that, obviously hyperbole, but like in a
Yeah.
worker
Like
co-op, it puts your manager and you on like an equal footing, so to speak. Um,
that's the thing though. Like I can see where you're coming from. How
mhm.
everyone should be like given like the same amount for like pretty much working the same. If that's what you're trying to come out
No,
as.
no, no, no. So, like, worker co ops, there's a lot of different ways you can implement them. And
Uh
it
huh.
doesn't necessarily mean that if you have, like, a more important position, you don't make more money. But
Yeah,
it
that's what
does,
I was trying to like
yeah,
pick out because I thought you were trying to say like everyone should make the same no matter what position they're in. That's my
no.
fault.
But everyone, I think, should have, like, a share in the profits of the company, for example, if
Yeah.
it's collectively owned. So, like, if your company does really well, everyone gets, like, a benefit of that, you know? Right
Sure.
now, if your McDonald's franchise does like sells a record number of burgers, the person flipping burgers doesn't have any investment in that, right?
Hmm.
So they're going to work harder because they have a direct investment in the company. Um,
Hmm.
and on top of that, worker co-ops tend to be more resilient in bad economic times. So if there's like a Great Depression 3 or whatever,
Yeah.
um, you
If
know,
there ever will be.
worker co-ops tend to survive better. Um, and that's largely because, for example, employees will tend to willingly take pay cuts at worker co-ops if it means everyone gets to keep their job. It also
Hmm.
means, by the way, there's no reason to fear like robots coming in and replacing jobs, because
Hmm.
uh, because you're a member of the worker co-op, you can transition to a different job in the worker co-op or get some sort of benefit for being a member of the worker co-op prior to the robots. You
Yeah.
get a share of that productivity.
Yeah.
Um, and this isn't something that I've seen like making the rounds a lot on social media, but um, in the 1970s in the United States, um, up until then, roughly, uh, productivity in the United States trended along with how much people got paid. So
Hmm.
basically, as time went on until the 1970s, people generally got paid more. Standard of living went up and up. You could go to college working at like a fast food place.
Yeah.
Um,
But majority of all like jobs nowadays that pay you minimum wage also pay like some sort of your college fees. Like I know
well,
for like what for like one instance like Starbucks, I pays I think like 20 like
mhm.
up to like 40% of your college fees or something like that.
and that
But
and
most
that's and that's
yeah.
true. But the issue is that if wages had kept track with productivity in the United States after 1970, the average wage in the United States would be over $100,000 a year. Right now, it's $30,000, around that,
Hmm.
like 33,000, I think.
But at the same time, inflation happens, so that can easily be a
Well,
reason why.
accounting for inflation, it would be $100,000.
Oh,
Um, so like the issue is, if you think about it, where did that extra, $67,000 go? And the answer
yeah.
is it went to the people at the top of all of these companies in the United States. That's why the wealthy keep getting much more wealthy over time in the United
Well,
States.
also they have more. They're more in. Well, they have more experience with the money, so they know what to do with it than the average Joe.
Well, but part of the issue is that people, the average Joe, they're the people who make the money, and they're the
Yeah,
people who make the economy work. Like
yeah.
the people who are making money on the top wouldn't be able to make money without the people on the bottom.
You're right, but this is
So,
kind of like a
mhm,
different section from what we were
yeah,
just talking about. But
you're right. Can I just finish my
sure,
socialist?
yeah.
Okay. So worker co-ops are actually a way for workers to seize the means of production. So
Okay.
if we transition to a primarily, it doesn't even have to be all companies don't necessarily need to be worker co-ops. But if we get majority of companies being worker co-ops,
Mm-hmm.
and worker co-ops contribute more to our general economy because they're more efficient, they
Mm-hmm.
generate more wealth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that satisfies the first thing of socialism. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second aspect is decommodification. And what I advocate for are decommodify things that make sense. And essentially, to me, those things would be uh, basic living conditions, food, water, electricity, internet, and like so you have the
Like your
basics.
basic, yeah, your basic needs, yeah.
Yeah, you have your basic needs met. And the issue that like the reason I advocate for this is like, for example, um, housing homeless people, and this kind of goes against a lot of people's like knee-jerk reactions to this. But when you
Can
house
I
home,
can I
yeah,
reply to your yeah, like your basic needs and stuff?
sure thing.
So like if that was a thing where everyone just got their basic like necessities like food, electricity,
Hmm.
internet, like etc. what you said,
Hmm.
then technically all those jobs, all the people working at those jobs wouldn't necessarily make close to as much money as at like any money at all because they're pretty much giving it out for free.
Well,
But like
so here this is where decommodification comes in,
okay.
because you wouldn't decommodify everything. When I say
Hmm.
like decommodifying food, I mean like you could go to, we'll call it a government food bank for
Hmm.
whatever, for these purposes. There are a lot of different things you could call it, but you could go there to this place, whatever we end up calling it, and get like bread, eggs, maybe a couple like stock soups, things that you need to survive, but you wouldn't be able to buy something like Pop Tarts there, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and like, okay, so you can just go there and get a loaf of bread. Cool. I feel like that should be that seems pretty doable.
Yeah.
Um, and when I talk about like electricity, well, why should we have private electricity companies? Like, why not let the government do it for far cheaper than a private company can?
Well, it's not about like doing it cheaper. Well, because my stepdad, who
Hmm.
immigrated from Cuba, he works for an energy company, CMS Energy.
Hmm.
So what they have to do is pretty much they have to try to sell theirs for cheaper because there's always competition in the stock market. There's always competition. One
Hmm.
company's either going to put a lower price on you or put a higher price and include it with something.
Hmm.
So like they might say like if you pay this month's electrical bill,
Hmm.
you'll probably get like your next month's off half off or like they'll just try to do something
Yeah.
like that. So if they always try to compete with one another,
Hmm.
the prices will always like vary between different companies. So that's why you
But
see like
do they make a profit? Because
well
they're private
yeah.
they're private
Well not
companies.
they can't really make they can't really make well they can make profit off of it. But at the same time like if it takes like $100 to generate 1 watt of power,
Hmm.
they're probably going to charge like $110 so they can make that
Right.
money to grow their company. Like they could
Right.
put a new plant all like in like Flint, Michigan. They could put in
Hmm.
like a new nuclear power plant all the way in like California, but like that's not really possible anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But like,
You're giving examples. I get it.
yeah, so
So
like,
I would just argue that the government instead can take over those kinds of operations. You know, obviously, if it's a private company, with compensation to whoever's working there. You know,
yeah,
not just like it's ours now. Screw you. Um, but the government can take control of that, and then instead of $110 that they're charging people for energy, you know, they can just
hmm
absorb the cost of $100 themselves.
hmm
Um, and so like there are different ways we could do this, but like or like water. I, for example, it's kind of what one of the things if you start looking into Latin America, for example, when it comes to
hmm
water,
yeah,
um, Nestle tends to come in and
yeah,
buy water sources, and then they basically sell it to people for far more money than it was costing them to get water before. Um, I don't
hmm
think that's necessarily a good thing.
but
Maybe we
also
should.
they have to, don't they? I'm pretty sure like they ship their water out there, so it's gonna cost them more to like ship the product
Well, but
to there.
that's why they go in and they buy the water source so they don't have to ship it. But they
Oh,
can charge whatever they want because they
I missed that whole
own it.
entire part of what you said.
Yeah. Um, and when it comes to like housing, for example,
Yeah,
this doesn't mean everyone's living in the exact same house. For
yeah,
example, I'm not in favor of all houses becoming like public property and like someone just moves in with you because there's room in
hmm
your house. But what I am in favor of is like having if you for whatever reason do lose your house, you know, you
yeah,
I don't know the circumstances, but say you lose your house, um you have a place you can go and you can live there, and it's not like your life is over and you have to go live at in the park in a tent now, you know?
yeah.
Um and the reason, by the way, one of the reasons I think that this is generally a good thing that we should do, is that one of the big problems in the United States right now
It's
is
homelessness. Well,
rent being way too much money for people to deal with. Um,
yeah, because of the pandemic
well,
and
yeah,
how it.
because of the pandemic, but it was bad even before then. Um, and the like I think when I was like your age, the general rule of thumb was like a third of your income should go towards your rent.
hmm
And now I think like most of the people who are in my age group, for example, have to spend like half their income on their rent.
Yeah,
So it
because
just
rent
keeps.
like can vary from like, well, it depends what type of style home you're living in. If you live in a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, not even like 1 bed, like 3 beds and like one
Oh, we're
bath.
we're we're talking like studio apartments.
Oh, studio apartments? Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it depends what
no
location you're in.
bedroom whatsoever.
Oh, well, if you're in like New York City, like yeah, it's gonna be hella expensive because it's New York
Well,
City.
but
But like
I live in Minnesota. I live in you know, not
rural
yeah,
areas.
it's not super rural, but like it still costs like $1,200 a month, $1,600 a month, which is,
hmm
you know,
Which is a little.
half of what people are making every month.
Yeah, well, that's a little above average because mostly most like rent is around $1,000, probably like a little under. So it's probably just because like how nice of an area you're in. So they're probably gonna charge more for that because of the crime rate's probably lower than like the average
Yeah,
place than like
it could
downtown like
it could
outskirts.
definitely be. But part of the issue is that that's been going up for a very long time, and it keeps
hmm
going up, and wages don't keep going up, and
hmm
so it takes bigger and bigger portions of people's income.
hmm
Um, but one of the things I've noticed, I've gone over a bunch of studies about homelessness,
hmm
and those studies actually show that for every $1 we spend on homelessness, like giving a
hmm
homeless person a home, for example,
hmm
we get $2 back. Like we save $2.
Yeah.
Um, and so like having that kind of decommodified housing where you don't need to pay anything, you
Yeah.
can just go live there. would
Hmm.
actually save us quite a bit of money. And then part of the motivation for like going out and getting a job at a worker co-op, for example, in this society, would be that you can live in a nicer place than that
Yeah.
decommodified housing. You can go out and buy, your white picket fence or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and then like decommodifying healthcare, for example,
Yeah.
um, that would be a good idea, specifically because like a lot of the information we have is that privatized healthcare is way more expensive than
Well,
any
yeah,
kind of
because
socialized system.
it takes a lot of money for people to do their malpractices or whatever. I forgot what it was called. I think it's malpractices, something like that, something along those lines, where they have to pay. They have to spend the doctors. They
Mhm.
have to generally spend more money on their what are, what are they called? Insurances. They have to spend more money on their insurances so they
Mhm.
don't get sued, or they have enough money for their insurances to pay off those like sues. So if like
Mhm.
let's say they messed up on your stitching on like your leg or something, then your insurance would like pay for that
Um, so yeah, like
if you're a doctor.
that's definitely a part of it. Like part of it, the other part of it is like, for example, for someone like me right now, like I have to pay around $360 for my health insurance every
Yeah,
month.
yeah,
Um, and like it doesn't have to be that way. Like people, like it. Part of the reason it costs so much money for insurance,
yeah.
do
But also your insurance pays for like a good majority. Like it could pay up to like half of your bill or a little more than your bill for your like if you
it
go in for like your
it
like doctor.
can after I hit a certain amount of money spent on it. So if you have dirt cheap insurance, like $150, your
Hmm.
insurance actually only kicks in after you've spent like $8,000, $10,000. Like
Yeah.
we're talking it
Because you
only
have more
kicks
money on your insurance. So
well, you're saving money on your monthly premium, but part of the reason people go for those low monthly premiums is because they don't have the money to pay for higher premiums.
yeah.
Um, so that what that winds up happening is they don't actually save any money from
Hmm.
having insurance unless they get like hit by a bus,
Well, yeah.
or get cancer. Um, and so that's so. Do you know, by the way, just offhand, how much money the average family has set aside for like crises, like unexpected expenses in the United States?
Probably very low. I don't really look into those statistics.
Okay, I know off the top of my head, because I learned it and it like was really eye opening for me. It's $400, and that was before the
Hmm.
pandemic.
Okay.
Um, there's no way for people to pay their medical bills if something bad happens to them. Like
Yeah.
even to get up to like that the part where their insurance would kick in.
Hmm.
Um, and so like we have this system and it doesn't make any sense if we're paying out the nose for it. Um, and the other part of it is private healthcare companies have to spend on advertising. They have to spend
Yeah.
on all of these other things, and they're operating for profit. So like
Yeah.
they make hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in profit every year. Um, well,
Well, they
why?
have to pay off their their doctors in some way
Well,
because
but
it because they do get paid a lot. Their
but it's
doctors do get paid a
profit.
lot.
So it's
Well,
on
yeah.
top of all of those expenses.
Well, yeah, but because of them making that profit, they can invest it in like advertisement, like you said. They can invest it in either a new building, like probably in like somewhere in the United States or something like that.
Right.
That's what mostly profit goes to.
But my point is we could instead be charging most people far less money, and just decommodifying the system so everyone can use it without going into massive debt or having to
Yeah.
pay. You know, there's no reason for us to have this system other than for the benefit of these very obscenely wealthy people.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's my basic vision for like a socialist United States. That
Yeah,
you
but
still
I
go to
have
work. Yeah,
something to add to that.
yeah, go for it.
I'm pretty sure this was like I searched this up like 4 months ago,
Hmm.
and one bandage for the medical industry was like $5,000 for
Hmm.
just one bandage. So I'm pretty sure like the things that the medical system, well, the medical field are paying for is farly overpriced. So we have to look at like all the companies that are selling them
But
these like bandages that cost five thousand
do you know
dollars.
why that is though?
No.
It's largely because of the insurance companies marking up prices for hospitals because or hospitals marking up their prices because they know insurance will pay for it. It's like this whole shell game of money being played in the healthcare industry, and it's
Hmm.
largely because of the way we deal with insurance.
Hmm.
No other nation on earth that has like socialized healthcare, for example, has to deal with like these obscene costs. Like the UK is able you're able to take an ambulance without it costing you $5,000, you know?
Well, yeah, but if we look at Canada,
Mhm.
close country to us, mostly because of their universal health care system. Well,
Mhm.
they mostly Canadians, because my family has Canadian friends and Canadian family
Mhm.
in Canada, and so they mainly come to the United States with their passports to just get emergency health care, because their emergency health care or their what's it called? Their
Mhm.
crap, what are they called? Medical buildings. I forgot
Yeah.
what they're called. I'm just gonna call them. I'm just gonna
Facilities, hospitals.
hospitals. My bad. I just kind of had an
It,
aneurysm.
it's okay.
They mainly come to the United States just so they can get one visit in, because
Mhm.
it's so heavily packed in, and it's like, let's say you have like a really bad like stomach problem and you don't know what's going on, and you go to the emergency room, it'll take like longer.
Mhm.
You know how like you've probably been into the emergency room before, haven't you?
Yeah.
So like you know how long it takes, right? Like to like get in, like if
Yeah.
it's a long wait. Well, like
Not
over there,
really.
it's like worse because
So,
multiple people are there for like little things.
this is largely a product of like conservative misinformation. Like there's no one who's going into the emergency room in Canada and not getting seen or having to wait like 20 hours before someone
Well,
will see their
yeah,
broken
but
arm, you know? What does happen is people from around the world do come to the United States for healthcare because the United States does have,
the
to
best
a
health.
certain extent, like the best healthcare in the world
Hmm.
if you can pay for it. Most
Yeah,
people in the United States can't pay for it. If you're going to the emergency room in the United States, you aren't getting like, you know, the super secret President Trump super soldier
yeah.
serum injected into your veins, you know. You're
Well, yeah, but he's the president, so it's like
right,
different.
exactly. But like
So,
but the benefits of like our really good healthcare on for the very rich in this
well,
country are
yeah,
not available to the people
your
on the
wealth
bottom.
status does have a uh role into healthcare, because if
Hmm.
you're more wealthy, you're obviously going to get the better treatment because you can pay for the better things.
Hmm.
So like let's say a cast would be like your poor person, like arm fixer,
Hmm.
if you would like to call it that, if you broke your arm or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
So, but for like a rich person, they'd like give you like a robotic
Yeah,
thing, like yeah,
like Big Boss from Metal Gear
yeah,
Solid 5. Okay.
yeah. So they give you like bigger, better things to like help it heal faster or better in
Hmm.
a way. So like money does have a role into this.
Right. And I'm just saying that like maybe instead of keeping those advances for people who are obscenely wealthy, maybe we could make those available to people on the bottom too. Because
Yeah,
largely a lot of
but they do cost a lot of money to like get
true
those advancements.
true, but a lot of those private companies are getting extremely large subsidies from the government already.
Hmm.
So why not just do that for the government doing the entire thing? Like there are people out there, there are scientists who are very willing to do this research
Hmm.
just because they want to like cure people. They want people
Yeah,
to have better lives.
but then
Um
most likely they're like, instead of getting paid like $300,000, which I think is reasonable because they do save lives.
yeah,
Like
sure.
so like so getting paid like $300,000, it'd probably get bumped down like 150, because
Hmm.
pretty much half of their wage is probably going to go towards like helping, like, well, just pretty much paying for their medical bills, because they obviously couldn't pay for them, if you know
But
what I'm
what
trying to
if
say.
but what if those doctors also didn't have to pay for like 10 years of medical school, you know? Like that
Well,
that's
yeah,
like for a lot of doctors, they have to practice for like 20 years before they're
yeah.
out of
Just
their school debts.
yeah,
What
just get your
would
doctorate degree. It's 14 years in college, and
right.
then on top of that, you have to like pay a crap
Right.
ton of money in taxes.
So what if you were okay making $150,000 if you knew that all of your, basic needs were
Well,
fulfilled
yeah,
and that could all just go towards luxury goods, you
yeah,
get yourself that PS10 or whatever in the
yeah,
future.
yeah.
Um yeah, I mean like this is my basic premise of socialism. Like
Hmm.
your luxury goods wouldn't go away. The market economy wouldn't necessarily go away either. Um, and we could live right now in a world where we didn't have to live like have hunger or homelessness. We just don't invest in ways that make that possible. And I think that we could do that largely
Hmm.
by eliminating the profit motive for like providing homes to the homeless or
Hmm.
and just having the government do it.
Hmm.
So
So
stuff like that.
can we change topics because we've been talking about this for like a long time now.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'd like to change topics to uh like military trans rates.
Okay.
So, so my first, well, I only have one like thing that I wrote down.
Hmm.
It's that rejection to the army or like any other branch
Hmm.
because you don't already like because like if you don't get accepted into the military field, it's most likely because if you have brain like mental disabilities,
Hmm.
or if you're not fully through your transition yet, because then you could feed off of the free healthcare that you get
Hmm.
from being in the army, because that's what most trans people do um when they're done with their military service. They get their free healthcare, and then
Hmm.
they get their transitioning paid for,
Hmm.
even though it does cost a lot of money. Because I know that you're trans, and if you ever
Hmm.
been into like a trans like surgery, you know
Hmm.
how expensive it is, right?
I actually haven't had any surgeries, but I am aware of how expensive these surgeries
Yeah,
can be. Yeah.
yeah. So like that's one reason why, because on top of the medical stuff we were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
it does cost like a lot of money for trans people to get their medical stuff paid for.
Hmm. So and your position is that it costs too much, so trans people shouldn't be in the military.
No, so pretty much what I was just about to say was,
Hmm.
so that's why they get rejected from being in the army, is because the army doesn't really want to pay and waste money. Well,
Hmm.
not really waste money, but like waste their healthcare benefits on people that aren't really stable with their transitioning yet. So they can't
Okay,
just
so
like
so
feed off the
trans
government.
people are like mentally ill
No, 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 no. Like
or
feeding off of like the government's money for just their transitioning bills, because they do cost a lot of money.
well, how is that different than like somebody going to the military to pay for their school bills?
Well,
Because
most.
a lot of low income people go specifically into the military just so that they have like someone to pay for their education.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it's harder to go through transitioning when you're in the military. So if you're already gone through your transitioning, then you're most likely gonna be a-okay, unless if you're in combat and you get shot, or
Why is that a problem?
well, because if you're going through transitioning during the military, you're most likely not gonna be able to serve, and that's pretty much the main intent
Well,
of joining the
why
military,
not?
because you're going through surgeries, and then when you go through
Well,
surgeries
a
during.
a lot of people don't get their surgeries like while they're um like when they're deployed, right? Like
Mhm,
they tend to wait until like they are off deployment or before they're deployed. And like the recovery is generally like several months.
mhm,
And like a lot of people get like to go through that on like like someone in the army is like playing football or something and sprains their ankle and has to spend like weeks or like breaks an arm or something, like this happens all the
mhm.
time. So why is
Yeah.
it different for trans people?
Well, it's because it costs more. Cause here, I'll Google it real quick.
Hmm. Well, it's because of the cost of their health and their health care, not because of like the time it takes for the turnaround.
Uh, in a sense. So like the cost. Hold up.
Hmm.
Let me search up the cost of
Yeah.
transition bills. Okay. So the cost for a male to female
Hmm.
is $25,600. Well, for like the average trans-related surgeries can cost tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah,
Hmm.
insurance companies still. Philadelphia Center of Transgender Surgery estimates that bottom surgery costs about. So bottom surgery, just the bottom surgery, like
Hmm.
you know what I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah.
So $25,600 to male to female patients, and about $24,900 to female to male patients.
Hmm.
So just alone for the bottom surgery costs a lot of money.
Do you know how much money it costs to like have your gallbladder removed or something?
No.
I can tell you off the top of my head because I have had my gallbladder removed. That cost me about $15,000 without insurance. Luckily, I had insurance. It still cost me around $3,500. Um, but the point I'm trying to make with that is that people have medical things happen to them while they're in the
Hmm.
military all the time.
Yeah.
It could be routine stuff, could be like removing your tonsils,
Hmm.
whatever. And
Yeah,
that all costs a lot of money too.
but for like the military, they get they have like $1 trillion. I'm not sure how much money do
Do
they
you, do you know
spend.
so here's a better question. Do you know how much money transgender healthcare has cost the military
Mm-mm.
in the past? Okay, I do. Here, I'll even put it up on screen so people can see it. Um, this is from PBS. Transgender healthcare cost military less than 1% of its health budget since 2016.
Hmm. But
So over the past several years, it's cost less than 1% of the healthcare budget.
also not a lot of transgender people since 2016 have been enrolled in the military
Well, actually,
because
the
well, yes,
amount.
there's more, but like there's not it's not equivalent.
Well,
So
but so basically in 2016, like, okay, but you, like, okay, here is another little statistic. Um, there were a maximum of 10,790 transgender people actively serving in the U.S. military in 2016. Um, so uh, we'll say around 11,000. We'll round up a little bit. Um, that's not a lot of people in the scope of our military. In the
yeah.
scope of the total trans population, around 47 to 36% of trans people in the United States serve in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, the costs
But
are not that big to the health
well,
budget.
yeah, but it's more of so like the military budget because they got their 2019 budget. They
Hmm.
were offered $686.1 billion.
Hmm.
$69 billion of it was for war funding, and the other was most likely probably for well, I can't say because probably the military is like very private, obviously, and what they do, but most likely it probably all went to probably testing for like new like weaponry
Hmm.
or testing for like a bomb or something like a plane or something like that.
Hmm.
So they have a set budget because they know it's gonna cost them a lot of money. Because I bet you like let me Google how much does build buy to buy. So they spent alone 313 billion for nuclear submarines, 149 billion for ICBMs,
Hmm.
266 billion for bombers, 44 billion for other systems,
Mm-hmm.
By department, costs break down to 890 billion for defense department.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little over $4 billion over their budget
Okay.
of what they got in 2019. So just by that,
Okay.
it's like
Do you know how much money if all 10,000 members of the military chose to transition at the same time? If we double the number, you know, say something goes
sure.
wrong with every single one, it would cost about $550 million. If and that's
Okay.
assuming they're all transitioning same time. They're on like some sort of weird mental clock. They're all psychically linked. Whatever.
hmm
They all transition at the same time. Uh,
That also means that those 11,000 people don't serve because they're still going through surgeries and
sure.
recovery time.
For several months.
Yeah, but that's
Um,
also
that's half $1 billion. Do you know how much
that's
the United States military spent on one plane that hasn't launched yet, and they've spent this money over the span of a decade?
no.
There is the I think it's called the F-35. I might be getting the name wrong here. Let me look at this real quick.
94
Um,
million
oh no.
and
Oh no 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 no.
122. Are you F-35B?
um, just a sec.
But if you're thinking of the F-35B or F-35, the program
I'm
that expected to cost 1.5 trillion over its 55-year lifespan.
okay. Yeah. Um, so let's see. Yeah. So yeah, the F-35 fighter craft is estimated to cost 1.5 trillion um dollars. And
1.5
this uh let's see.
over
Yeah.
its 55-year lifespan.
Yeah. But like this is a plane, by the way, that has been known during its test flights to decapitate its pilots if they try and eject. So like this
Well,
is
yeah,
it's a joke of a plane.
Jack.
So
Well, it's also going.
why
Hold up.
but like why are we willing to spend 1.5 trillion on a plane that doesn't work very well, but we're not willing to spend, even under the worst case scenario, 550 million?
Well, because it's faster and newer technology, and they're also looking into it. So they're probably gonna look and see if they can like make it more efficient and less cost like. So if they're just like testing it and running test runs, of course it's gonna cost more because it's just test runs and they're just thinking of things on the spot. It's not like
It's largely not a result of like test runs though. It's largely a result of like the military having deals with
mhm.
the manufacturer, and the manufacturer having deals in various communities. So a lot of politicians are heavily incentivized to keep investing money into this program, even though the plane doesn't actually seem to be that good. It's kind of the reason like the United States military like still makes a ton of tanks, despite the fact that like we literally have fields in the middle of the desert full of tanks that aren't
hmm
being used and probably won't ever
well,
be used.
well, yeah, because there's not a war like going to happen. Well, I
Right.
hope not going to happen.
Right,
But
but
back to the plane,
we keep putting money into these programs because, not necessarily because we need these things, but
it's
because
so.
there's an incentive to keep the gears rolling on the production lines,
Mm-hmm.
so that
Because
private
what happens over
companies can
time?
make profit.
Because what happens over time? There's this thing called a corrosion, and that happens in between carburetors and vehicles. So when a tank just sits there, it's gonna get corroded, and it's obviously not gonna work as well. So like so like if you have oil inside of a car
Hmm.
and you don't use that car because they're machines, they're meant to be used. So
Hmm.
obviously just maintaining them is going to cost a lot more than just letting it sit there and rust and like pretty much just sit there.
Hmm. So I guess we're getting really far afield of this,
Well, yeah, but
but like here's my issue. Like you throw around a lot of stuff like, you know, it costs 1.5 trillion for this plane, 140 billion for a nuclear submarine, like all this stuff. And yeah, like I get investing in our military and stuff like that. Why don't we just like not pay for veteran healthcare? Because that would save the military a lot of money too.
Uh-huh.
Why is it only specific to trans people getting healthcare that is an issue?
Because they go through transitions as the average Joe Schmo
But the
military
average
person.
Joe Schmo over the course of their life is also probably going to need surgeries. I imagine
For
having somebody's legs being blown off, for
well,
example, probably
yeah, but
necessitate a lot more expensive surgeries than transition. Um, or like other kinds of damage from like shrapnel removals or brain surgery. Like there are things that cost a lot more in healthcare than transition.
hmm
So
well,
why is it an issue just for trans people?
because prosthetics can range from 5,000 to 50,000 for just one leg.
Mm-hmm.
For just one leg, so that's around like that's 10,000 to 100,000, depends what type of prosthetic you get.
Mm-hmm.
And they also, I'm not. I'll Google this to make sure, but I'm most likely sure that um phalanges, fingers, and like small like what's it called? Small limbs or like
Mm-hmm.
small bones and like fragments of your body most likely cost more because they're harder to build.
What about people who get cancer? Or like old veterans who get cancer?
Well,
Because cancer
okay.
costs a lot of money and it's
Well, yeah,
usually like
because
ongoing
of the
treatment.
therapy. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's the chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is just radiation, and radiation costs a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
to produce.
Right. So why do we hook them up with healthcare when it's
Well,
so expensive?
it's not really about that. It's because it's a radiation treatment. It just depends on the treatment because their radiation treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's just look up chemo radiation treatment cost. So, this is between 11,000 to 12,000 a month. Out of pocket costs are usually small fractions of this.
Mm-hmm.
So, just on that, that's
So after
pretty
five
much.
months, you're paying more than transition costs.
Well, yeah, but if you're like going from like male to female, they're taking off parts of your body. But if you're going
So
from female to male, you're putting on parts of the body. But it just
so like what? I guess I'm not really sure what the
so like
difference is. Why
so
why
like
are we
this is a
splitting
treat.
hairs here?
So like this is a treatment. So they have to
Yeah.
do it consistently. So if you
Yeah.
want the treatment, you're obviously gonna have to pay the price for the
Do you
treatment.
do
And
you do you think that transition isn't treatment?
no, it is, but like this is out of pocket cost.
Yeah. So,
This isn't from the military. It's out of pocket.
but the military would be paying for it if they're a veteran.
Well, yeah.
So,
So
I don't understand why is there a distinction here?
there really isn't. It just costs more for radiation over time.
Yeah.
For like let's
So
say
what's the
let's just round up the numbers. Let's
difference?
have
You,
like
you
twenty
just
six
well,
thousand.
no, the number doesn't matter. You just said it doesn't make a difference because that you can have scenarios where there are
So
veterans who cost more money to the veteran healthcare. So like why is it different for trans people? Like that was the issue we were talking about initially. We kind of
so
got
like
off of that.
transitioning is more of like a. So this is gonna come off a little rude,
Mhm.
but like transitioning isn't really a necessity. It's
Why
like a
not?
thing. It's like a thing that someone because most transgender people say it's a mental disability because how they were born in the wrong body in a sense.
Well, so here's the thing. The reason the military like do you think that the military does things out of like the goodness of its heart? Like because they're like a benevolent organization? Or does the
Uh,
military do things that are efficient and effective towards getting people in fighting shape?
Probably efficient and effective because the stronger the army, then the stronger the
Exactly.
Military would be.
So the reason the military covers transition care is because allowing trans people to transition makes them stronger
Yeah.
people. It allows us to live normal lives and
Uh-huh.
operate in the capacity of soldiers, for example.
But the thing
Um,
is that the government doesn't want people that are just going into the military just for, so like let's say you serve
mhm,
like 2 years or like a year
mhm,
and you just like retire
mhm.
and you get all these health benefits when you still served, but not like the
You know,
other transgender people that have served like
I'm
15, 20,
I'm not
25 years.
familiar with the veteran healthcare system. I don't necessarily know if it works that way. It seems like it wouldn't work that way, but I don't know enough to say whether or not it does. But I would also counter just by saying, as before, a lot of people go into the military so the military will cover their schooling costs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not that much different. You know, you're going into the military to subsidize a cost to you.
Yeah,
So again, why is it different for trans people?
because it's not really in a,
I mean, the military thinks it's a necessity, and
well, if the
if you asked
military wants,
most trans people, they would also say it's a necessity because I'm gonna be honest here. A lot of people, a lot of trans people, if they aren't able to get their transition care, a lot of trans people try and kill themselves. So
well,
that's why the military
that's the thing though,
does that extra step of covering
because if you're
transition
not,
care the
because
same way the military covers stuff like PTSD treatment.
this is the thing though, you don't get into the military if you have mental disabilities. You don't get into
Right.
the military if you're not
But
already transitioned,
that's because
because no,
transitioning fixes the
because
problem.
no, because transitioning, the government wants people who are already transitioned so they
Hmm.
can fight right off the bat. They don't really want people that are just going to be in the military and then leave to get
Well,
their medical
so
treatment.
what
Not
so
They want people who can fight
do you
when
think
they
that
join.
historically under like don't kiss and don't tell when people weren't allowed to be like gay in the military, do you think that people who were trans like showed up to enlist and were like, hi, I'm private, I would like to join the military, please, and I'm trans. Do you think that that's how it worked, or do you think that a lot of people went into the military and after serving for a while and like retiring or coming out to one of their members of the staff, it turned out that they were trans later on
Well,
after they had already served a while?
yeah,
Because
that's a different thing though.
it. But don't ask, don't tell was only repealed like I don't know the year off the top of my head. Let's look it up. Don't ask, don't tell was repealed in 2011, so less than 10 years ago. Um, if you let to put it into perspective, if you were invading Iraq in 2001, 2003, or whatever, um, you were invading Iraq. You couldn't openly be serving and be gay.
Well, yeah,
You
because
couldn't. You also couldn't openly be serving and be trans.
well, at the same
Um,
time, like acceptance wasn't really the same how it was 2001 than it is now.
exactly. And so a lot of what we know about transgender people in the military happened after trans people had already been serving in our military for a long time. They
Uh,
just weren't doing it openly.
hmm.
Because here's a thing: you don't necessarily need to be like when you're joining the military now in modern day 2020, they don't care what your junk is. They just care if you are capable of doing the tasks that they assign to you.
Hmm.
And trans people can do that.
I agree.
So like,
I'm not really hot on this topic though. I
yeah,
just
I
wanted
mean,
to bring it up. I'm
it's
not I'm
okay.
I'm not from the community, so like I don't really know a list of these facts.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess.
it's totally cool. I just as long as we're on the same page,
Hmm.
like trans medical expenses are such an infinitesimally small part of the not the military budget overall, but just the healthcare budget. That
Hmm.
like it's like laughable to say that that's the reason to save like a fraction of a percent of the wider um like budget.
Mm-hmm.
And also, that's not the reason that Trump gave to getting trans people out of the military. He didn't give really a reason. And the military disagreed with his decision to do this. So, like, this is one of the rare cases where I'm on the side of the military. Like, I'm not a fan of it, but they're getting it right in this case.
Okay, I would gladly say that you won this segment.
I'm not. By the way, I'm not trying to win.
Oh, no,
I'm
no, no.
enjoying our conversation. You know.
Yeah. So my next segment would be about BLM.
Okay.
So I'll start it off again.
Hmm.
I believe that one race can't be held more glorified because of present actions.
Hmm.
So like the George Floyd,
Hmm.
I don't. Well, yes, it was like, yes, it was cruel. The guy shouldn't have like been on his neck for that long because George Floyd was obviously saying he couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
It's like there was no need for him to stay on his neck for that long, but at the same time, George
Hmm.
Floyd was a felon. He's done bad things to pregnant people, well, pregnant ladies and people in general.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there's no need for a guy to just die because either of his past and or of his skin color.
Hmm.
But like I stand for BLM. Like Black Lives do matter. I can see the injustice is going on like around the world.
Hmm.
Like SARS in
Yeah.
uh
Africa.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or, that's a bad thing as well because they don't have nearly as much freedoms as we do.
Hmm.
And it's kind of sad to look at that. But
Yeah.
like I just don't think we should be their organization, they have risen about $1 billion in assets and haven't helped one black school, one black family, or one black community.
Where are you getting that data from?
It's just enlisted on their the website. It's
They
saying,
bragged about the money being
well,
raised to not help people.
they've raised $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's on Wall Street, I'm pretty sure. It says BLM manages more than 245 million acres of public land located primarily. So 245 million acres.
Can you wait? Can you link that to me? Because I genuinely have no idea what you're talking about. Like,
Okay.
Black Lives Matter owns land?
No, no, no. So, okay. I think it was just giving me something stupid because
That's
I
okay.
searched up just BLM assets.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, you might be talking about the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
I was about to say
Like
that's
I was like, let's
yeah,
go
it's
to
a
Black
different
Lives Matter.
different BLM. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, because I was gonna say like I haven't like heard them at all, just buying land out of nowhere.
Yeah, that didn't quite sound right to me. Um, but maybe while you're looking around, I can address the first part of your point, like
Uh-huh.
one race being held more accountable. Um, so I agree with you. I don't think like any one race
Or
is
ethnic group.
or
Yeah.
ethnic group is like more accountable to one another. Like I agree that shouldn't be the case. The issue is that in the United States, we like it's not like we live in a self-contained box where like everything that happened before we were born like didn't exist, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
we have relationships with the past and that puts us in a certain context. And for
Mm-hmm.
for example, the black community was brought to this continent against its will, um, used for
Mm-hmm.
free labor for centuries, and then about like 150 years ago, um, was just
Mm-hmm.
set loose into the United States with no accumulated wealth. So one of the sociological constants that I bring up is that statistically, if you're born poor, you're more likely to die poor. If you're born rich, you're more likely to die rich. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what happens when you have an entire racial group in a country who is suddenly a freed person, but they all possess zero wealth, like
Hmm.
none whatsoever. So that has continued to this day. Now, obviously, black people are doing a little bit better today than right when they were released from slavery. However, the disparity is still there, and that largely shapes like um, a lot of the
I sent you
uh,
the link, by the way, and
okay.
it talks about how much money they've made, and
Mhm.
I think I overestimated how much they made,
Yeah,
but
I mean that's okay.
so like I'd say it's around like 500 million
Hmm.
or like 500 to like 700 million.
Yeah,
I probably overestimated,
it's okay. Um, but
but it talks about how much they've made in like their weeks.
mhm. The issue is that so if you're born poor and you're more likely to die poor, um, and you make it to the modern day, you're doing a little bit better than you were right after you were freed. However, in places like Chicago, the average white family has 40 times the wealth of the average black family.
Yes,
So
but but
that wealth disparity
but can I add on?
has a lot of socioeconomic effects. Sure.
Okay, but there is a thing called black on black crime, which
Hmm.
happens a lot in their communities because they're taught at a young age how to be pretty much a thug.
Well,
Because like, well,
so
not like every black like community, but like
well let
the
me
majority of like the black communities have really like bad gang violence, so they're just like
so
grown up
I'm
into
just
that
gonna
community.
interject and cut you off because I know generally how this argument goes. So black on black violence is a thing, but the reason there's black on black violence isn't because of black culture. It's largely because black people live near black people. And the reason that is historically black people
Hmm.
have been segregated from white people. So, for example, in Chicago, Chicago is heavily redlined, which means that when black people were buying houses, they were generally only able to buy houses in certain low income areas.
Hmm.
Um, and so, a lot of black communities only live next to black people. And so, the people that they commit crimes against tend to be black people. This is, by the way, exactly the same reason why white people tend to commit violence against other white people.
Well,
It's
yeah.
it's the similar thing. So like a lot of the time though when people bring up black and black violence, what they're really trying to do is say something about black people makes them more violent, and either it's the culture or it's a really sideways way of saying that black people are genetically inferior to other groups.
Hmm.
Um, like those are the two explanations you can have for
But
why are black people more violent.
well, it says here
Hmm.
that non-Hispanic black
Hmm.
crime 50% of 55% of it is gang related
Yeah, but do you know why people join gangs?
to get affiliation to be like no. I, I don't know.
Most people join gangs as a way of getting money because they
Uh-huh.
live in very poor areas.
Yeah, like a
Most
hustle.
Yeah, most people aren't like wake up one morning, boy howdy, am I happy to go to work at the gang. But like if you live in one of these communities where like your only way to get ahead is either to be a straight A student or to work 50 years and hope that maybe your hard work pays off so you can just eke out a
Hmm.
living, or one day mom gets sick, has cancer, has to pay for those treatments, doesn't have insurance, what do you do? what
But
what do you
that's
what do you do in a low economic opportunity area? Because here's the thing, a lot of private businesses, they don't want to invest in those areas.
well,
Black
yeah,
people
because
disproportionately with all of the same qualifications as white people get disproportionately denied business loans in the United States.
well, it's because it depends how much credit they have. It depends how
What
much annual.
with all of the same qualifications, they get denied business loans.
Well, I can't really say much about that.
Yeah, so but I mean that's part of why people join gangs because they go through all of this too.
But at
Like
the same,
your first choice isn't to join a gang. Most people aren't like gung ho about having to join a gang, right? But the drug trade sure generates a lot of money. This is, by the way, one of the reasons why I advocate for us to decriminalize drugs,
hmm
um, because it would take a lot of the incentive out of joining a gang. It would
hmm
help in a lot of different ways. For example, in Latin America, the reason, for example, cartels are such a big deal all across like Mexico and Latin America, it's because we have criminalized drugs. They're the ones shipping the drugs to us. That's why they have so much power. If we decriminalize drugs here, we could effectively end all of those problems.
hmm
Um, but that a little bit of a tangent. The issue here is largely like one of how our economy is distributed in a capitalist society. Um,
hmm
and I
Actually,
think
a
that
little fun
there need
fact
to
about
be.
cartels.
Hmm?
I'm pretty sure it was the cartels that helped the recession.
It was the cartels who helped the recession.
Yeah, the cartel money, like money laundering money that kind of helped put back the recession on its feet.
Oh, you mean like helped us recover from the
Yeah,
recession?
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere.
I mean,
How the money
it
money
might be
laundered.
that like them investing or putting money into banks helped stabilize them. I'm not going to say it's outside the realm of possibility, but I also don't know that like we can attribute like widespread economic effects like that specifically only to the cartels.
hmm
Um, I would say it's probably a combination of maybe economic policies and maybe that has something to do with it too. I'm willing to accept that.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I think generally part of the issue is that in this country we have a group like groups of people who on the basis of their race tend to be disproportionately poor, and that tends to shift how they are treated in society as a racial group because we tend to stereotype people, you know.
hmm but at the same time, um, the average Joe Schmo
Hmm.
gang member would be taxed zero to less than the average hardworking American
Well,
who, but like, okay,
fun fact: a lot of criminals actually pay their taxes. Like
yeah,
if you're a gangster or whatever, it's actually in your best interest to pay your taxes, even if you don't list where you're getting the money from. Um, because then the IRS comes calling, and that's a whole world of trouble for you if you're a
hmm
criminal.
yeah, but being criminal in general isn't really a good thing.
No, I agree.
But hold up, what did I write down in my notes? So my second part of BLM
Hmm.
was ALM for All Lives Matter.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people like flame me for this, but like the only reason why I stand for All Lives Matter is because I believe every race, ethnic group, and like should be accounted for
Hmm.
and should be like equal and not
Hmm.
just being one over like Adolf Hitler's like pure like race that he tried creating, because this is pretty much what the BLM organization is turning into, is like a pure race, but like it's not, it's like it's turning into that because
I mean, a
of
lot
one,
of white people participate in Black Lives Matter too.
well yeah, but like the organization itself is turning into like this whole like how do, it's just turning into like an Adolf Hitler like pure
Why
like,
do you think that?
well, for one reason, they try to set what their race, the BLM, the Black Lives, well,
Hmm.
the black race above
Hmm.
everyone else's, like Hispanics, whites, Native
Well,
Americans.
I don't think they are, though. Like the issue with it is that because black people tend to be
But
disproportionately
well,
poor, they get disproportionately policed, and that
mhm.
means disproportionately black people have interactions with police, and
Well, yeah, but like
because of this, they tend to be
I'm just
disproportionately
talking about the
shot by
organization.
police.
I'm just talking about the organization, not its.
Well,
Not
but
really its people.
the organization was formed because of those issues, though.
Well, yeah, but it's also putting its race above everyone else's. So it's putting the black race above everyone else's.
Well,
So, but like it
so
in All Lives Matter, it's
this is
taking every
kind
race
of
and putting it equal.
like saying feminism is like for women's superiority when that's not what feminism is about, because
Well,
feminism
that's
actually benefits both men and women.
well, yeah, but it's also some feminist groups do
Well,
see it that way.
but most
Yeah,
feminists
yeah,
most feminists are
yeah. I know.
people who, well, so, but that's the same thing with Black Lives Matter. There might be some people in Black Lives Matter who are like black supremacists, but like
Hmm.
that's hardly indicative of like the entire organization. Like the reason they say Black Lives Matter is because black people disproportionately have this problem with police, and that's why the movement was formed in the first place. Kind of
Hmm.
like how women have
But like,
disproportionately been disenfranchised in society, and that's why it's called feminism instead of humanism, you know?
yeah, but
Um,
like, let's say if I
but it can
started a
still benefit other people.
well, yeah, it could start. It could put like spotlight on like positivity around like other groups and try to raise awareness for
Well,
other groups.
the issue being with Black Lives Matter that if we get police to start treating black people like they matter, then it means they're going to treat everyone like they matter.
Well, yeah, but also in these Black Lives, well, because it's 7% of the 93% of all these Black Lives Matter protests are peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
and the other 7% are non-peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching this video of this Black Lives Matter group, and there's this black guy
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of white liberal BLM protesters with
Mm-hmm.
like a couple of white black guys,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy was just telling them how they were just causing ruckus and how they were just terrorizing his city
Mm-hmm.
and how it was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all jumped him and pretty much broke his jaw, I'm pretty sure, because he was bleeding out of his mouth and his nose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I don't really like to see in an organization that's trying to raise awareness
Mm-hmm.
for a group of people when they're doing the most harm to its own people.
Do you know how big Black Lives Matter is? Like the
Mm,
protests have been?
no.
Okay, so to give you a bit of context, you know how big like the civil rights movement by like black people to
Yeah.
ensure that they had the right to vote? That was like a huge protest, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That was because of the start of it.
The Black Lives Matter protests have been the single largest sustained protest in the history of the United States. So,
Well, because it's been
bigger,
going on since the
yeah, but bigger than
1940s.
more people have been involved than were involved in the civil rights protests. So like in terms of tens of millions of people coming onto the streets, yeah, you are going to find a few people who engage in really awful acts of violence, like jumping someone
Hmm.
who just disagrees with them, right?
Hmm.
However, one of the issues, because I've also looked at that study of like 93% or whatever
Hmm.
are peaceful. I've also seen other studies that have gone over additional detail since that study came out, and they estimate 97% of all Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful. And furthermore, they also said that during their research, they tended to find that a lot of the violence actually was perpetrated by counter protesters against protesters or by police on protesters. Um,
Mm.
and like groups like Amnesty International have condemned the police departments of the United States for repeatedly, violently, like uh, breaking the human rights of protesters.
Hmm.
Um, and they even have like this interactive map. Here, I can show it to everyone because I have it here somewhere. Um,
After this part, can I talk to you about Biden, if you have time for it?
um,
Oh,
sure. We can talk
okay.
about Biden after
Because
this.
I only have like 2 questions,
Yeah. Here we
and
go.
they're just gonna be about your thoughts about him.
Sure.
Well, about the questions I ask.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about Biden. Here we go. Here's an interactive map of just what Amnesty International has on camera of police violating protester rights. So, like, yeah,
Good. None in my state. Well, my region of my state.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do you live in like the Midwest or something?
No, Middle East. Well, Upper Middle East, like
Okay.
Michigan.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, there are a few around Michigan.
Well, not in my city.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, pretty much
Um,
county.
but it's all good. Like, but you can click on any of these, and there will be like events popping up that can view the event and look.
Hmm.
Peaceful protest, police up here.
Well, that's the thing though. Like all you can see like all that smoke and how they throw like fireworks over time.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start to get like more like you see those fireworks going off.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start to like the police are ordering them to like get back and stuff
Mm-hmm.
and like trying not to cause like havoc, but then they keep like inching up and
Well,
inching up and inching up and they just
so
keep taking more bite than what they can swallow.
but here's a question.
Michigan is not
Did
part of the Midwest,
did
actually.
did you know that like using mace, using tear gas in like wartime is considered an act of a international crime, like a war crime?
No.
And we allow our police to use these agents, but we allow that. But even if you don't think, it's fine if police use war crime stuff on private citizens, um, why is it okay to unprovokedly do that at someone who hasn't broken
Well,
the law? Why is it okay
well,
for a police officer to attack a law-abiding citizen?
well, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you wouldn't be causing havoc in general.
Well, but
If
you're not causing havoc. You're using your First Amendment right to protest an injustice.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, if you look at it this way,
Mm-hmm.
take it from like let's say your governor. Let's say you're Governor Whitmer of Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and you see in Grand Rapids, Michigan, that there's 10,000 people protesting. It's probably not as big as their protests, or
Sure. We'll
like,
say 10,000.
yeah, 10,000 people protesting for Black Lives Matter, and there's probably going to be like 4 different groups,
Mm-hmm.
like 5,000 in each group. One's going to be most likely like a riot, and then like the other three are just going to be like signs up and just like
Well, but
BLM and
do you
stuff.
think that
So like,
that statistically breaks down over what we've seen from peaceful
no, but I'm
protests?
just I'm just gonna use that as an example. So that
Okay.
one group that's going to pretty much be the rebels and try to cause crime.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they're just gonna? They're just probably most likely just wanna get rid, or not like get rid. That sounds really mean. Like probably just like nudge away the BLM rally because they're
Mm-hmm.
probably just getting sick and tired of how the crime is just, well, not just the crime, but like how they're criminalizing their
I mean,
organization and
here's a question. Do
of
you think
that.
it's okay for a police officer to just be walking down the street and beat someone unconscious?
Do I think that's what?
Like, okay,
No, that's not okay.
why not? They could be a criminal.
Well, because that's just if you don't have a valid reason to, like, let's say I'm a black guy, even though I'm like not black.
Okay.
Let's say I'm a black guy
Mm-hmm.
and a white guy calls me the hard R. Of course, I'm going to beat the living crap out of him because that's just something you shouldn't say to anyone,
Mm-hmm.
let alone even in your head. So, of course, like, I'm going to beat him up, but if I don't say anything at all and I just beat him up, that's just like wrong.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's wrong for a police officer to just beat someone up
Well,
because they are in the wrong place at the wrong time, or
that could play a factor. So, like, let's say this really isn't racially profiling, but let's say two people are wearing black coats
mm-hmm.
and are around like 6'4". They're probably walkie-talking each other and saying there's a guy that has like fireworks and throwing them at buildings,
Okay.
and that could cause a lot of damage, and or throwing rocks at buildings, throwing stones at buildings. They're
Okay.
probably going to chase down all the people that are wearing those coats and
Okay.
trying to stop them.
What about incidences like where protesters are being peaceful and they have their eye shot out by a canister of tear gas. Is that
Well,
is that
also,
okay? Or rubber
they're
bullets?
also probably because there's a thing called disturbing the peace.
So you think it's okay to shoot people and like permanently maim them if they are disturbing the peace by
Mace isn't permanent.
exercising your what?
Mace isn't permanent damage.
Yeah, but they aren't macing everybody. They like people have had their like bones broken, they've had their eyes shot out, they've
Well,
had all kinds of awful things happen to them at the
well,
hands of police.
that's just the luck of the draw because of them using rubber pellets. Like if you just get shot with a rubber pellet,
Well,
obviously in the eye,
do
then
you do
obviously
you
it's gonna
know
do a
what
lot of
do you
damage.
know what rubber munitions they use?
Nope, but I just know it's rubber, hard rubber.
It's actually not hard rubber. It's a bullet, like a metal bullet that's covered with a very thin coating of rubber. They're designed to be shot at the ground so they ricochet up and hit people in the legs. But in America, we just shoot at people with these rubber bullets and shoot their eyes out, you know.
Well, probably not intentionally shooting their eyes out.
Well, yeah, they're probably not intentionally aiming for their eyes, but
Oh yeah,
does it really matter if you're the one getting your eye shot out for saying, hey, for having the audacity to go out and protest?
but at the same time, them disturbing the peace is one of
Is it okay to shoot someone's eye out if they're being loud in public at night?
but that's disturbing the peace.
Yeah. Is that okay?
I
I mean,
wouldn't I wouldn't I
I
wouldn't say
wouldn't
it's
think so.
okay. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's okay, but at the same time, you shouldn't be out there throwing fireworks, throwing rocks at buildings,
Yeah, I
or
mean, I agree, but also like I value human lives over like property. Like
mm,
are throwing those are like is a $500 window worth protecting if you have to shoot somebody's eye out? I don't know. I don't think so.
yeah.
Um but the other issue is like generally I think that they are justified in protesting. Um and also as more time is going on, we're finding that a lot of the violence is being done by like counter protesters like Boogaloo Boys, far right militias, or white supremacists who come in to stir up trouble. For example, in Minneapolis, the police precinct that was burned down, it was
Yeah.
it was burned down by a white supremacist, not BLM, and they know that because they caught the guy who did it.
Well, he was part of the group, wasn't he?
Well, but you
So he was
do you
part
think
of
white
the.
do you think white supremacists are in favor of Black Lives Mattering?
Well, they could. You could be a white supremacist and support, um, just like how injustice the cops have been, because that's what BLM does. They don't support really what the cops have been doing. They want to defund the police.
So you think a white supremacist is going to join an organization that you started this conversation out saying was a black supremacist organization?
Pretty much, but
That
like,
doesn't make any sense to me.
no, it does make sense because look at it. If a white poor white supremacist
Who
is
hates black people? Otherwise, he wouldn't be
yes
a white supremacist.
yes who hates black people
Hmm.
most likely isn't there for black people,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So that he or she is most likely there to end or defund the police. That's the whole strategy of BLM. They wanted to defund the police so they can have more freedom, right?
White
Or
white
and just
supremacists
injustice freedom.
love the police.
How?
White supremacists love the police. There's actually a huge problem among police officers where white supremacists have overwhelmingly chosen to become police officers. So like no, they don't as a group support ending the police because it's a way by which they can exert power over black people.
Hmm?
Like here, we'll look it up. White supremacy policing. Here's Brennan Center for Justice. Hidden in plain sight, racism, white supremacy, and far-right militancy in law enforcement Summary: the government's response to known connections of law enforcement officers to violent, racist, and militant groups has been strikingly insufficient. Like, it's a problem.
Well, yeah.
Um, but no, this is why, by the way, as a general rule, white supremacists are actually very much in favor of police. And they have been since like the 1960s. Like, police has largely been on the side of white folk.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacists tend to engage in violence if they think that it can get black people to look bad and discredit, for example, a black protest movement.
But at the same time, BLM is not really okay. I'm gonna stop calling it organization
Mm-hmm. You
because
can call it a
really,
movement.
yeah, I would say it's like a trendy movement because not a lot of people's like. Let's take like social media for example.
Mm-hmm.
Right when George Floyd died, pretty much that whole week or the whole month or two
Mm-hmm.
post death,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was posting black squares on Instagram or at
Yeah.
Twitter or whatever, and they
Yeah.
were saying justice for George Floyd or ACAB, defund the police,
Mm-hmm.
F12, blah blah blah,
People were really mad.
or like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, 6 months, no, like 4 months, right? 5 months, right? Something like that.
I don't know.
For like, I'll just say like 4 months before, like after his death, no one's posting black squares or Black Lives Matter or like hashtag Black Lives Matter on their posts,
Mm-hmm.
like on Instagram or anything. So would you say it's like a trend?
I would say that there are certain things that are trends, like, um, yeah, I mean, like there are people who do things for a wide variety of reasons. Some people do things to look good, and like, they're it's called virtue signaling, and other people genuinely do care, but life moves on, and I imagine that, like in the circles you run in, life is probably moving a bit faster because you're young, you're going through puberty, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Your social media life is much faster, I think, than maybe other people's might be.
Mm-hmm.
But you have people virtue signaling. The conversation also just evolves over time. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
also notice, like, the news wasn't necessarily reporting on it very much either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, also there's the all the Breonna Taylor stuff happened, so the
Mm-hmm.
conversation shifted again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
But
I feel like
you
that's just
know,
kind of the nature of social media and how our news
do you know
is
why Breonna Taylor
disseminated.
died?
Well, she largely died because police shot her.
Well, yeah. Do you wanna?
Do you want
There's
to talk about that?
sure we can talk
Just
about Breonna
just
Taylor.
real quick, because
Yeah.
I think we're past Biden talk time. But
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Wait,
what's
I
your?
didn't even ask about the Biden question.
I know. But the Breonna
Okay,
Taylor stuff.
sure. So, would you like to start, or would you want me to start?
I mean, I guess I'm very curious about what your position is on this.
Okay, so there's been body cam footage from forgot his officer, but it was an officer.
Mm-hmm.
He knocked on the door,
Mm-hmm.
and then he, um, what's his name? The officer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I haven't watched the video in a long time. Um, okay. Then the officer, um, pretty sure opened the door,
Mm-hmm.
and then the cop, the what's his name? The guy, um, the Breonna Taylor's
Boyfriend.
boyfriend, yeah, he came out saying that they were trying to get ready, well, trying to look decent for like whoever's at the door, and he said that people were pointing guns at him,
Mm-hmm.
and so he shot at him, right?
Yeah.
So then the cops ended up shooting back because if you just shoot at a cop, what do you expect is going to happen?
Well, so here's part of the issue with the story, right? When you're executing a warrant that necessitates you breaking into somebody's house, which
Well, it's a
that's what
no knock warrant though.
I have seen different versions of the story, but we can, we'll give it to you. But if it is a no-knock warrant, then why in your version of the story did they knock?
Just in case, because they have the warrant to where they don't have to knock,
Right. So why are they knocking?
because it's just safer to knock than no knock
Well, then why do they have a no-knock warrant? But I okay.
if they ever wanted to.
So part of the issue here is that the person that they were looking for was already in custody at the time. But okay, you give it to them that they don't know that. Sure. Well, for the sake of argument, they're executing a no-knock plainclothes warrant. They
Hmm.
don't look like police officers, and they break into your
How do
home
they not look like police officers?
because they're wearing plain clothes. They're not wearing like uniforms.
What?
Yeah, they were plainclothes officers.
That makes no sense.
So they broke into the house. The boyfriend, seeing armed intruders, used his Second Amendment rights to fire on these unannounced armed intruders who had just broken into their home. And then the police officers returned gunfire, killing an innocent person in the process.
But then how is there body cam footage of the boyfriend shooting one of the girl officers in the leg and having her being sent to a hospital, and then
Did
having
did you
and then
know?
having
Did you
the
know?
cop
We
shoot
can
back?
we can clarify this right away. Her boyfriend called 911 after, like during the break-in, to tell
Uh-huh.
them to send police officers to his house
Because
because
Breonna Taylor was
people
shot
no,
and
because
dead.
armed people had broken in. He didn't know she was dead until after this whole incident was over.
No, because there was recordings of the call saying of him saying that
He
I
didn't
think
he
my wife is I think my girlfriend's dead.
but coroners found out that she wasn't dead at that time. However, he didn't learn that she was dead until well after all of this got resolved. So,
Yeah, but at the same time, the cops acted in defense as well because the guy shot at him. The boyfriend shot at him, so obviously they're gonna shoot back. And
how is he
miraculously, when
supposed to know? How is he
the
supposed to
guy,
know that they're
the
cops?
boyfriend had his girlfriend
Hmm.
beside him.
Hmm.
So if you shoot, you know how stupid that is to have your girlfriend beside you if you're
If
gonna shoot.
so you're saying if three people break into your house, you don't know who they are, you don't know what their intentions are. You're armed in bed. Your girlfriend or boyfriend is next to you, and you
For
don't know who these people are, but you know that they broke into your house. You're not going to try and defend yourself.
well, I would defend myself,
Yeah,
but based off of someone
in a
having a
small
body
in a small
cam,
bedroom. That these people like
they
to
have vests on.
I need to let you know something. Police aren't all sharpshooter like
Yeah,
snipers. They shot so many bullets that the one officer who's been charged in this case was only charged because his bullets were going into other people's homes. They riddled that room full of holes. It like she got shot.
well, because she was right beside him.
Yeah, that's not her fault.
It's the
So
boyfriend's fault, if
why
anything, for putting her beside him
then
and
why did the
letting
police
him open.
officers drop all charges against him?
Because the boyfriend shot at the police
But they dropped charges against him.
because they had the wrong guy. They
Right.
thought it was the ex-boyfriend.
They broke into the wrong place and they killed an innocent person.
Because that was the place that they suspected was selling dope and selling drugs.
He was already in custody though.
But the process was going through.
Let me look at something real quick. Yeah, I mean, like
There's body cam footage of
their
them also
police
knocking,
department,
saying the police.
their police. Well, there were also like 14 witnesses, all of whom said they didn't hear the police identify themselves. Um,
But there's body cam footage.
I mean, but it doesn't matter if there's body cam footage if all witnesses to the event say they didn't hear it, and neither did the boyfriend because it was late at night. Like
So
if you
if
went
it's
you
late
if you
at
went
night
up to,
and they're sleeping, and all of a sudden they
yeah,
start hearing bullets go off, obviously they're not going to remember anything being said
well,
other than bullets going off.
right. So,
So,
but like if you walk up to somebody's house at midnight and knock on the door and say, "This is the police," are you going to expect people inside to hear you?
well, doors are normally really thin. They're not like 4 or 5 inches like thick. They're like 2 to 3 at most.
Okay, well, do you think
So
police don't know that?
they probably do.
So they probably know how loud they need to yell to let someone know late at night that they're the police.
But my question is, if they say that they're the police and he's at the door,
He wasn't at the door though. They broke in.
they didn't break in.
No, they broke into the apartment or house.
And if so, it's a warrant. They can go in if they wanted to.
I mean,
The
like,
police officers did everything by law,
well, I disagree
but
because the grand jury has come forward and said that they weren't presented the charges with which to charge the officers, so they literally couldn't charge the officers with the crimes that they thought they committed.
well, for one reason, they had a no-knock warrant. They didn't have to knock at all. They could have bulldozed in.
Okay, so you think if somebody has a no-knock warrant, they are entitled to come into your home and kill your family?
No.
Okay, but that's what happened in this case. They broke in and they killed an innocent person. I would say that that's
In
probably a colossal
self-defense.
fuck up, and
In
they should be held
self-defense.
accountable for that.
She
Was it?
shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Why not? It was her
She
home.
she shouldn't have been right beside her boyfriend. She should have been in another room.
Why?
She
It was her bedroom.
How
She,
do they get from the front door to the bedroom?
well, they broke in. I imagine they walked. Some people have their bedrooms right by the front door.
Then how are there bullet holes in the living room?
There were also bullet holes in neighboring uh, homes. They shot a lot into that room.
Okay.
And also, I do have to say, um, I don't believe that they had.
Nanoeconomics in the chat. She wasn't sleeping. The boyfriend has come out saying that she was right beside him.
Well, I don't know all the details of this case right off the top of my head. Sure, we'll go with that. But here's the other thing. I'm not entirely sure it was a no-knock warrant. It might have just been a search warrant.
It was no, because because it's really hard to get no-knock warrants. So they
Right.
had to go through a whole process
Well, you have to go
to get a
through a whole
no-knock warrant.
process to get a warrant anyway.
But it's harder to get a no-knock.
I mean, it can be. Depends on the circumstances.
No, it's just harder in general.
I mean, honestly, it depends on how close you are with the judge.
Well,
And the terms of the terms of the warrant were actually that there were packages being delivered to the apartment, except that that wasn't true. Because the police department had been told several times that no packages were not being delivered to her apartment.
do they have logs?
Yeah, I mean, their log was that the reason for the warrant was so that they could investigate these suspicious packages, except that the courier service verified that they hadn't multiple times verified that there hadn't been any suspicious packages.
But there's still packages. They can't check the packages.
Yeah, but
It's illegal.
the postal service has a way of detecting whether or not you're sending drugs. That's why
Well,
drug
yeah.
dealers don't typically mail their drugs via the postal service.
Yeah, because they have drug dogs
Yeah,
where they sniff.
exactly. So I mean, the police lied about the terms of the warrant that they got.
I don't know, man.
I mean, like it all of it is bad. Like
Yes, she shouldn't have died at the same time, but she also shouldn't have been standing right in the open.
I mean, but do you have
Like,
a
if you
right
know
to
there's intruders, why would you stay in, like,
I mean, maybe she was behind her boyfriend who was standing in front of her to protect her from the strange people, and she got hit by a bullet.
yeah, it was a freak accident, like most things. Let's
I
say I
mean,
trip and fall. Let's
it's
say, let's
again,
say, let's say
it's not
today.
really a freak accident if people are breaking into your house with guns and then they shoot
Okay,
you dead. It's
okay,
just it's
let's
not.
take it like this. Let's take it like this.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
cover myself with pig blood.
Mm-hmm.
I jump into a shark-infested water.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think will happen?
Well,
I'd probably get eaten by the sharks, right? Because I'm covered in pig blood, right?
okay. What if you're covered in pig blood, and then somebody comes at you with a giant vat of sharks and then like pushes you in?
But that's not what happened.
Well,
Breonna
but
Taylor set herself up to die pretty much.
that's what you're saying. You're saying, well, she shouldn't have done this thing that by itself wouldn't get her killed.
She shouldn't have been standing in the middle of the room where a bunch of bullets are flying through.
Why if you're why is this her fault for standing in the middle of the room and not the cop's fault for firing at her? They're the ones who broke
They're the
into
ones who
somebody's
they're
home in the
because they have
middle
a
of the
no-knock
night
warrant.
on a false warrant.
A warrant means you can go into their building
A
without.
warrant does? I don't think they had a no-knock warrant, which is why they announced themselves as cops in the security camera footage.
And you can knock with a no-knock warrant still. You know that, right?
Then it's not relevant whether or not they had a
Because they
no-knock
could have
warrant.
used it, but they must have heard them inside. So
I
they
mean,
probably knocked.
I
Because they mainly use
okay,
no-knock warrants
you're
to
okay if somebody
catch.
breaks into your if the police break into your house and kill your family, like I don't know, your mom or dad or whatever comes down with a gun to defend you and you're in the middle of the room and you get shot and killed, you're okay with that?
But here's the thing. Why would the boyfriend, pretty sure it was
Why
NBC
why
News.
why would the boy
He got interviewed by NBC News
Uh-huh.
or something like that. It was some news channel. And literally he said that he heard something outside of the door.
Yeah.
He heard knocking, right?
Uh-huh.
So he said that I went to go get dressed and grab
Uh-huh.
my gun.
Yeah. Somebody's knocking on your door and you're a
But in
black
the
person
but
and it's the middle of the night.
in in this cam footage,
Mm-hmm.
the officer's cam footage or whatever it's called, I forgot the name.
Sure.
They say that it's the police and they're knocking on the door.
Okay.
So then they barge in,
Mm-hmm.
and then the boyfriend shoots at them. And then what do you think the cops are gonna do? They're gonna
Okay.
shoot back.
Except again,
Except they shot
all witnesses did not hear them announce
because they
themselves
probably
as
were all
police.
asleep. They
Well,
probably were all
except that
asleep.
they weren't is the
How?
thing. Because there were 14 people who testified in the case and gave witness accounts of the incident. Like what they saw and heard
But
prior to the shootings.
do you know what time did this all happen at?
I mean, I don't have it right in front of me, no.
Neither do I.
That's not the gotcha you think it is. Like, the issue here is that all witnesses to this didn't hear the police. The police are the ones who are supposed to are the ones who have the authority to shoot people dead. It's the onus is on them to do everything right. And literally every step of this wasn't right. It was so not right that somebody died, and all of those people still have are fine. Like I
But do
if
you know
somebody
what Breonna
flipping their
Taylor was?
burger messes up, they lose their 9 to 5 job, and maybe
Y-
like a burger goes on the ground. If a cop messes up, they can kill someone. And they messed up real bad in this
Yeah.
case.
Yes.
Yeah, if your mess up kills
But
an innocent civilian,
Breonna Taylor
yeah,
was an EMT, correct?
so
So she would take the drugs that she would grab some drugs and she'd sell
based
them.
on what evidence? There's no evidence that
She.
Breonna Taylor was ever involved
Why do
in
you think
any
she was
drug
fired?
trafficking.
Why do you think she was fired?
I don't know. Why do you think she was
Hmm.
fired?
Because of her taking the drugs.
Is that what the employer said? Or
You're
is
not
that
allowed to
just,
do that. It's against the law.
well,
The
but is
employer
that
cannot sell documents about what happened.
okay? So you don't know if that's why she got
But it's
fired.
public.
Wait, I thought you just said
The
it was private.
employer.
Yeah.
The employer cannot get documents.
Okay, so.
So if she gets fired,
Uh-huh.
the previous job that she was at, they cannot give them documents. Same thing with police. That's why a lot of police officers who are
But
racist in a sense,
why are
they go
you
through different.
why are you
Okay,
assuming that she took the drugs from the hospital she was employed at? There's no evidence of that.
there's clear evidence because drugs went missing.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean she did it.
So an EMT gets fired from her job,
I mean,
drugs go missing,
yeah,
and she's
the
starting to sell
onus.
dope with her ex-boyfriend.
Well, but she wasn't.
But she was.
No, she wasn't. There's no evidence she was ever
Okay,
no, that she didn't know that her ex-boyfriend was a drug dealer.
but she was caught multiple times by the police had investigations going in on her and her leaving the house, and then they did
Yeah,
investigations on the boyfriend's house of dope.
they
So
had an invest
why would it
they had
why
an
would
investigation
Brianna go
going
there?
because she was connected to her ex-boyfriend.
Exactly,
Tip,
who was selling drugs.
well, yeah, but she didn't know that he was selling drugs.
How would she not know? She would visit him.
There's a lot of
You,
there. Have you ever heard of
you think that
someone
the
a
ex-boyfriend
part?
is that smart? Do you think
Well, it doesn't
a
take that
drug
much smart.
smuggler is that smart?
Well, A, drug smugglers can be very smart, but B, um, like boyfriends and girlfriends don't necessarily know everything about each other. That's why boyfriends and
But do you
girlfriends
think
can
a
cheat.
druggy loser is going to be that smart
Okay,
to
let
hide
me tell you, as
a
somebody who has
month's amount
dated
of drugs?
a lot of people, it's not hard to lie to your partner. People do it all the
Yeah, it's
time.
easy.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you
It's
think
not
an
beyond the
idiot
capabilities
that
of a
Breonna
drug
Taylor's
dealer.
ex-boyfriend could hide the pounds and pounds of drugs
Do you think he
that he
came
has?
in every day with money bags full of cocaine and was just like, "Hi, honey, these are my cocaine bags."
No.
Another good day at the cocaine factory. No, it doesn't work like that. Um, Typically, drug dealing doesn't work like that either. A lot of people with their drug dealing.
So about JJ that just commented, Max, if you don't shoot somebody for drugs, why is their argument anything more than that?
Well, I mean that's true. You don't just
But
shoot somebody for doing drugs.
but one, they're illegal too. At the same time, he
Speeding
sold
is
them.
illegal. Do you shoot someone for speeding?
No,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that's not
Killing it. It's not like cops aren't supposed
selling
to
drugs
just
is
kill
illegal.
people, even if they're
Taking
doing
drugs
something
is
illegal.
Well, taking drugs that don't have a prescription on them are illegal.
Yeah, it is, but doesn't mean cops can shoot you for it. I mean that's the issue. We don't live in a Judge Dredd world where cops are the judge, jury, and executioner. Cops are supposed to be the people who make sure you get to court for the crimes you
Not
commit.
to protect you from others. They're here to
Not
protect and serve
not really. Why do you think they're here to protect and serve when we're literally talking about a story where an innocent woman got killed by police who
because of her boyfriend.
broke into her home illegally?
It's not illegally if they had a warrant.
A search warrant doesn't give police the right to
Yes,
break
it
into
does.
your home
Yes, it
at
does.
night,
It's literally what a warrant is.
unannounced.
Literally what a no-knock warrant is. You don't have to be announced to go in and go in.
It
But
wasn't a
with a regular
no-knock
warrant, you have
warrant
to be able
though.
to make yourself present.
Yeah, that's why
That's
they
what a
said
whole
it.
thing about.
That's why they
I
said
just
it
I
on
just annihilated
cameras.
you with that just sentence. I just annihilated you with that sentence.
No,
Yeah, because with a warrant, you have to make yourself announced. With a no-knock warrant, you don't have to make yourself announced. It's the
right.
difference between a no-knock warrant and a regular warrant.
Exactly. And no one at the apartment complex heard
They
them
had a
announce
no-knock warrant. They
themselves.
don't have to
They
announce
didn't have a
themselves.
no-knock warrant. They had a normal search warrant to investigate these mysterious
Temple wants to debate
packages.
you,
No, we already talked.
but he keeps telling me that you're lying to my teeth, lying through your teeth.
I'm not though. I look, I don't understand how people who consider themselves conservative can be in favor of police and like against big government can be in favor of police being empowered to break into your home at night and shoot an innocent member of your family dead while you're exercising your Amendment right to defend yourself.
Well, your Second Amendment right is to protect you from others.
Right. Like people breaking into your house at night unannounced.
That doesn't matter. They had a no-knock warrant.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose of a
So
no-knock warrant. You don't have to make yourself present.
you're saying you wake up in the middle of the night, people are breaking into your house, you check if they have a no-knock warrant first?
No, that's the whole purpose of no-knock warrant. You don't have to make yourself announced. You don't have to
Right. So
pretend that you have a
why didn't
warrant.
they just murk everyone in the house?
Because that's not what they were in there to do.
They had this weird spec ops
You
warrant, I guess.
think if they were just trying to go out for Breonna Taylor, you think they would just have shot Breonna Taylor and not have wasted all their ammunition?
I mean, I think that cops tend to panic, and these cops are clearly inept because at every stage of this investigation,
they weren't expected their boyfriend and them to be there.
Yeah, they did. God.
What? They were there to search the place. They weren't there to arrest anyone. They were there to search the place.
Right. They were there to search the place. Then why did they execute a no-knock? What you are claiming is a no-knock warrant, which I do not know if it's no-knock or not.
Okay. They went there to search the place, okay?
Mm-hmm.
With a no-knock warrant. If they're there or not, you still don't have to make yourself present. But they still did. They still knocked saying we're the police.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
So, they still knocked and made themselves present, still with the no-knock warrant, just in case,
Mm-hmm.
and the boyfriend still shot at them. So the cops shot back. If they were trying to kill someone, they would save their ammunition and just shot Breonna Taylor and left. They wouldn't have stayed there at all
Mm-hmm.
and arrested Breonna Taylor's boyfriend.
Okay. So I guess my question is, do you think cops should be able to kill innocent people?
No.
And that's fine.
No.
Okay. Why is it fine in this case when they messed up? Because if they hadn't messed up, Breonna Taylor wouldn't be dead.
Breonna Taylor wouldn't be dead if she wasn't hanging around with the wrong people. It's just that. She also was a druggie. She also was hanging around with druggies. She was.
Here's the thing. You don't know.
Criminal.
You don't know everything about everyone you date. People don't handily give you, here's a dossier, including illegal shit I'm doing. You don't know. Maybe she broke up with him because he was a drug dealer. Maybe that's why they didn't work out. You don't know. You're just jumping to these conclusions to justify her murder.
Why would she still hang out with him?
I don't know. Maybe they're decent friends. Maybe she's like going to babysit a kid or something. I don't know. But it's also not illegal to hang out with people who are bad people. It's not illegal to hang out with someone else who might have broken the law at some point.
So you're telling me
Mm-hmm.
Breonna Taylor hanging out with her ex-boyfriend who's known to sell drugs to the police, right? And they had to do a whole investigation about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fact. Breonna
Okay.
Taylor is caught hanging out with her ex-boyfriend.
There's nothing to
That
catch her doing. It's not illegal to hang out with your ex-boyfriend.
who's a known felon who
Yeah,
has been selling
it's
drugs.
not illegal to
The
hang out with a
cops are gonna
known
be suspicious. So
felon.
they got a no-knock warrant to check her place for
Mm-hmm.
drugs. That was the whole purpose of going there. It so happened to be that her boyfriend and Breonna Taylor were there. So they
Uh-huh.
still knocked and said the cops were the police.
Okay, but they obviously didn't
They
do a good enough job doing that, though, because the people inside didn't know, which is why Breonna Taylor's boyfriend called the police asking for help.
Breonna Taylor,
Hmm.
if Breonna Taylor was so innocent, why would she hang out with her ex-boyfriend still?
Because people hang
If
out with their exes all the time. It's not it's not illegal to hang out with a known felon. It's not illegal to hang out with your ex-boyfriend. It's not illegal to hang out with someone who's actively doing crimes if you're not actively doing crimes too. And there's no
but that
evidence that
cops don't know that. The cops don't know that
but
because
there's no evidence that Breonna Taylor was committing any
Breonna
crimes at
Taylor's
any
ex
point.
but Breonna Taylor's hanging out with a person that was committing crimes.
So it's okay to kill someone if they've been hanging out
They
with
didn't
someone who
purposely
committed
kill
a
her.
crime. Yeah,
They
but
came into the room, the boyfriend shot at them, and
that's
they
the
started shooting back.
issue. Police aren't supposed to kill innocent people, and if they do so through negligence, it is something that they should be held accountable for, right?
What do you think they're doing now?
Not it took a record protest bigger than the civil rights movement to even get a grand jury to see this case. It literally took months of sustained protesting by tens of millions of people. That's why this whole Black Lives Matter thing got involved with this in the first place. Because it takes historic intervention on the part of black people to get, and white people and all kinds of different people, to get cases like this held to account. Like that's part of the problem. Like, we should just be investigating police who screw up,
Yes,
and we don't.
but at the same time, the media already covers it all.
But the media covering something isn't the same as holding someone
But
legally
at the same
accountable for
time,
killing people.
the the police don't just kill people.
I mean, they
If
do.
they feel like their life is being threatened, they're obviously going to react. It's that
Okay,
split second.
here,
Okay, ready?
here's
No,
the
no, no, no.
issue.
Just let me speak. Let me speak. Let me speak. Let me speak.
You can never ever prove that someone else did or did not fear for their lives. You can't prove how someone
Exactly.
else feels. Right.
So
So that's why the issue
let's say
of holding police to account is so difficult to do, because the burden of proof is literally impossible. It's literally impossible to prove someone didn't feel a certain way, which is why police don't get held to account, because the standard literally that they're held against, they can't, like, no one can prove them wrong unless they literally say, I didn't fear for my life, I just killed this person because, and no one does that in court.
because no one does that. No one just kills someone
No,
just cause.
no, police do kill people. It happens a lot.
Yes, it happens a lot. Yes, but
Are
is
you,
that on the scale that you're talking about? No.
a lot, I mean, a lot of black people are disproportionately killed by police. And they're
Yeah.
not, and those killings aren't investigated.
You know how many black people were innocently killed by police in 2019?
I can look up how many unarmed black people were killed. Generally,
9.
dead people don't get
9 were in total.
investigated.
9 in total in 2019.
Where are you getting that fact from? Because I know it's not true.
Search it up. Not.
And just tell me where you're getting it from.
Google, like you get all your sources from.
Unarmed black men killed. Unarmed black people killed by police 2019. Oh, okay. The very first result that I got was a fact check from USA Today. U.S. police killed 8 unarmed black men in 2019. This largely comes from Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA. Um, and the data shows that, let's see, police fatally shot 13 unarmed black men in 2019. 5 more people than Kirk claimed, so not quite accurate. Um, but the issue is black
But
people get disproportionately shot by police.
not,
If it
but
doesn't happen that often, then why aren't we holding these police to account for what they've done? It wouldn't be as big of a deal, right?
hold up. Searching up something.
Okay.
So 2020. How many? 2019. Police harm disproportionately affected people of color. So that's one news source, U.S. News. Let's see if this one says the same thing. Okay. So 1,000 black people, it says on these two sites.
Okay.
1,000 black people were innocently, well, what did it say again?
Okay.
Risk of being killed by the police of force in the United States. About 1 in every 1 black men can be killed by a police. That's the statistic. So the amount of white people killed in 2017 was 457, 399 in 2018, and 370 2019, and 287 so far in 2020.
Okay. Here,
And
we can have a bigger pool of data here.
Hold up. And for black people, 2017, 223, 2018, 209, 2019, 235, and in 2020, 142. So it's actually white people being killed more.
Yeah. Okay. So
than black people.
Here's the issue.
So I think the racially injustice is discriminating against the white people because white people are getting killed more.
Here's the thing. Here are the numbers, like on average. So that are not on average, but since 2015. So we have like a big 5 years to pull from here. 1,301 black people killed by police. 907 Hispanic people. 2,499 white people, and 220 other. So the issue is that
people in general are just getting killed by police.
Right. That is an issue, but also black people make up 13% of the population of the United States, and yet
and cause 55% of all crime.
Well, no, that it's 50% of violent crime, but
55% of homicides is what I meant.
Sure. But the issue is there are, I think white people make up 60% of the population. So black people are in general 3 times more likely to get killed by police than a white person. And that's the issue. It's not equitably distributed at all, meaning that police disproportionately view black people around 3 times more threatening than white people.
Well,
and that's a problem when it comes to policing.
Well, at the same time, let's hope that no one flames me for saying this in your chat.
Incidentally, police are twice as likely to view a Hispanic person as threatening and shoot them. So these racial disparities happen across more than just black people.
True. But at the same time, black people are most likely not going to listen by just looking at a cute,
Why?
10 clips. Okay.
10 clips is
So
not
so
data.
it can be.
No, 10
If you
clips
look
is
at
anecdotal
if you
data.
okay,
Give
but
me
if
a
you look
study.
if you take a white person versus a black person, a white person is not really going to question a cop at all and just listen to them, correct? But a black person is going
No.
to be yes, a black person is going to
No.
be like, "Why am
You
I
can
getting
you
pulled
can
over?"
you can find videos online of white people literally decking cops in the face with their fists and cops not killing them. But when a black person
Because
comes to
it's a liberal in a BLM rally.
no, like I'm talking about like a white conservative at a grocery store who's drunk in the daytime. Like, or you can find pictures of white people running. Like, there's a very famous video of like a white guy who's naked and he's running around, and it's kind of a funny video, except that and he's being chased by cops. It'd be a funny video, except he just finished murdering his entire family. Cops still managed to take him alive, even when he turns around and starts trying to kill one of the police officers. So, like, the issue here is that white people are generally seen as far less threatening than black people or Hispanic people. And that's a problem because it means that police have disproportionate responses to Hispanic people and to black people. And your assessment, like, apologies, you seem like a very nice young person, but the issue of just assuming that black people are going to
Hold up.
be
One of your
less
people in your chat
less
said that I called black people thugs. I said the thugs that are running the streets back like an hour ago, saying that I said that the thugs that are in the gangs, the thugs that are in the gangs that are causing the crime. That was like an
well,
hour ago.
yeah, it's a racially charged term, thug. But moving past that, um, the issue is like when you say black. Well, obviously, black people are more inclined to be mean to police, and white people are more inclined to listen. That's kind of part of like it's the kind of that assumption is the part that is playing into the deaths of these black people. It's a racist assumption because white people and black people commit crimes at roughly the same rates.
Uh,
Um,
that's
and
false because how can a 13% till population in the U.S.
mhm,
account for about 55% of all homicide cases and 80% of unsolved homicide cases?
because black people tend to be disproportionately massively more poor than other groups,
That
so
doesn't
they
mean
get more
anything.
in.
It's like
But
common
they get
sense. Like, why do you
well
have to create
for
crime?
well. Here's another question: why do black people get put in prison over weed when black people and white people smoke weed at exactly the same rate, or might be off by
Because
like 1 or 2%?
because it wasn't legal probably back then. Because it's
Well, I
now
mean,
legal
no,
in
but
most
it was
states.
illegal for white people too.
Yeah, it's illegal. It was illegal for everyone
Right, but so why did black people get disproportionately put in prison for it?
because they're most likely caught with it,
Right, exactly. Because
and not white
black people
people.
get policed far more than white people do, because they're perceived as being 3 times more violent, despite committing the crime at exactly the same rate as white people.
Huh? I lost the last part when you were talking.
Oh, because black people commit the same like crime at the same rate as white people, but they're jailed disproportionately because black people get policed more than white people do.
Yeah, because there's more cops in the poorer
Do you but
areas
by the
or
way, do you
around the
think do you
poorer
think
areas.
do you think cops prevent crime? Or do
Not
cops react to
100% of it.
crime after it happens?
They react to crime either during or after.
Right. So why do we have more like why don't we have more social services in poor areas and the
I
same
agree.
amount of cops?
We should have that. We should have that because then it gives
Yeah.
like younger generation to
Hmm.
be able to have a good community, not a gang community,
Right.
and it could teach them how to be a good civilized human being.
Well, legalize drugs and the gang violence. I think that doable.
Hmm. I agree.
Um, but yeah, the issue is that there is a massive disparity between how black people are treated in this country and how white people are treated in this country. And you can say that that has to do more with their income levels or their wealth or whatever. They tend to be poorer, but I don't think that that's like an excuse. We shouldn't have that leading to more black people being more likely to get killed. I think that that's wrong and something we should fix.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we're on the same page here. I just think that, like, you have an assumption in you about, like, how black people behave and how white people behave around cops that isn't maybe necessarily based on facts and data. It might be more based on, like, videos you've seen that are kind of biasing you in these certain ways. Um,
Hmm.
but it's been really nice talking with you, okay?
Hmm.
I wish you the best. I love you very much. Do you have anything you want to like
I would just like to add one
pimp
thing
out?
about a person in your chat
Mhm.
and saying taxation is theft. Well, really, taxation really isn't theft. It helps really out the community. It can pay for roads, more expenses like hospitals and etc.
Yeah, I mean,
But
libertarians. What you gonna do?
yeah, well, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, nice talking with you too. Have a good night,
Yeah,
okay?
you too.
All right.